and welcome to another AIM recipe demo. I'm Michele, your nutrition educator. AIM stands for the Agricultural Institute of Marin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that operates 8 certified farmers markets in the San Francisco Bay Area. AIM's mission is to educate the public about the health, environmental, and economic impacts of eating locally grown food directly from farmers, and to connect and support communities and local food systems so the public can access healthy, sustainably grown food. Check out our website at www.agriculturalinstitute.org to learn more about where you can find an AIM market or our mobile market, the Rollin Root. Let's get started. Today I'll be demonstrating a simple baked tomato recipe using produce available at one of AIM's farmers markets. I'm always looking for ways to incorporate fresh, seasonal produce into meals, and tomatoes are abundant and at peak freshness this time of year. The USDA recommends that we make at least half our plates fruits and vegetables, and since they're filled with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber, the more the better. Using fresh tomatoes in our baked tomatoes with cheese recipe will definitely help boost our veggie quota. For this recipe, we will need 2 large fresh tomatoes. Now I washed these when I got them home, and then I stored them on the counter core side down. You always want to store fresh tomatoes at room temperature rather than in the fridge to maintain their texture and flavor. You'll also need 1/3 cup of shredded cheese, and you can use any kind that you like. I'm using a combination of mozzarella and Parmesan. You'll also need some garlic, and I found fresh garlic at the market, so I'm using 1 clove, which I've already minced. If you don't have fresh garlic, you can use a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder instead. You'll also need a dried herb like oregano. But this is another opportunity to see what's fresh at the farmer's market or on the Rollin Root. If you happen to find fresh herbs in season like I did, you can use that in place of the dried. Herbs are basically greens, so they can be a sneaky way to add even more veggies onto your plate. 1 tablespoon of chopped fresh herbs can be used in place of 1 teaspoon of dried. And finally, we'll need just a little bit of oil for the baking dish. That's about a teaspoon. Since we're baking, we're gonna need to preheat the oven to 400 degrees, so I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have 2 tomatoes that I got from the farmer's market. I've already cored and sliced one of them. We'll go ahead and take care of the other one now. So I've cored it, and now I'm going to slice it into about 1-inch thick pieces. You'll notice that I'm using a serrated knife. That's that tooth-like edge like you see on a bread knife. It just makes getting through the tomatoes just a little bit easier. You can totally use a plain edge knife if you'd like. All right, so we got about 3 pieces out of each one. And I'm gonna use the end piece, and we'll just put that end piece side down, and I'll put each of these into my plate, or into my tray. All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my cheese and herbs and garlic, which we've already assembled, and I'll just mix these all together into the same bowl. I'll use my spoon for that. I'm just gonna mix them up, and then we'll go ahead and put them on top of my tomatoes. So you can sprinkle them on top of the tomatoes, or you can spoon them like I'm doing. It's about a tablespoon per tomato. So you'll notice that I'm using regular dairy cheese, but if you prefer to make a non-dairy version, vegan cheese works just fine in this recipe. Another option, if you want to go completely dairy-free, is you could use something like an herb pesto. And the same process works. You just might want to check it a little bit early. It might not need to cook as long. All right, so that is our baked tomatoes ready to go into the oven for 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm gonna start checking it at about 5 minutes just to make sure that it doesn't overcook. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, and that's all it took for the cheese to get nice and brown and melted. So now we're just ready to serve it. So this would go terrific as a side, maybe at lunch with a soup, or it could be a dinner side next to chicken or something like that. It could even be something you might serve at brunch. It would go really nicely with maybe an omelet or eggs or something like that. Really, really versatile treat. All right, so that is our baked tomato with cheese. Thank you for joining me for another recipe demonstration using seasonal ingredients that you can find at Ames Farmers Markets. Keep checking Ames website for new videos of local farms and interviews with farmers growing your food. Our education team is working hard to bring in-person programming online, and we're looking forward to sharing more with you very soon.